Welcome back to Every Naval Battle in History. Well, here we are, folks, stepping up to the plate for one of the most crucially significant naval battles in history. The fate of the Latin-speaking Roman Empire is on the line. The assembled might of the Eastern and Western Roman empires is being brought to bear on a scrappy barbarian tribe. What could go wrong? Well, when the barbarians are being led by Gaiseric, the potential for mayhem has to be acknowledged. Just as a quick aside, the cover image on this episode is a fever dream of the Mid-Journey AI, working to the prompt, Vandal fireships burning the Roman fleet at Cape Bon as Gaiseric attacks. Please don't go searching it for historic detail, although compared to the average Renaissance painting of the Antiquity period, it's not that bad. In the Eastern Empire, we have Emperor Leo, who ruled in total for nearly 20 years, which was quite an achievement for a Roman leader. Notably, he was the first Roman emperor to legislate in Greek rather than Latin. Leo is still commemorated as a saint in the Eastern Orthodox Church with a feast day on 20 January. In the West, we have Anthemius, who was appointed to the role by Leo after more of Ricimer's shenanigans, and when I say shenanigans, I mean murdering emperors. And then we also have a Roman dude called Marcellinus, who was an independent warlord in today's Balkans at the time called Illyricum. Anthemius and Marcellinus had studied in the same school in Alexandria in their youth. Indeed, we appear to have a rare moment in the empire where the leadership knows and gets along with each other, leaving aside Ricimer, who will have his dagger out for yet another emperor in due course. Ricimer is mostly absent in this part of the story, although there are hints he was active in keeping the Western Empire's participation as minimal as he could, in the hope the East would bear the brunt of the losses. Which is possibly sensible until you remember that retaking Africa is essential to the survival of the Roman West. They need that grain. With a relatively united strategic view, the Brains Trust asked itself, what did they need to do to get the Western Empire back on its feet? And the answer from a small maps, large hands perspective was simple enough. They needed the surplus grain from North Africa to feed very large armies on the move and crush rebels and barbarians in detail. This would mean kicking the Vandal kingdom out of North Africa, and while they're at it, the crucial large islands of Sardinia and Sicily, or what looks like the old Carthaginian Empire. Now, as anyone who's spent a few afternoons playing board games knows, the trick to beating a smaller but capable opponent is to concentrate your forces. So, with this cunning plan in hand, the entire wealth and power of East and West was assembled. The shipping of the Mediterranean was stripped from its usual duties of trade, food distribution, and wealth creation, and pushed into the service of shipping 100,000 men, depending on which sources you believe, to attack Carthage. Marcellinus was to attack Sardinia, an army under Heraclius of Edessa was to attack the coast of what we today call Libya, and the big fleet under Emperor Leo's brother-in-law Basiliscus was going straight for Carthage. Basiliscus didn't make it hard to figure out where he was going to be. He took the shortest route from Sicily to Cape Bon. With Libya and Sardinia in Roman hands, Gaiseric played humble when this vast force hove into view. He asked for 5 days to come up with peace terms for negotiation. Which brings us to our old favourite from Edward Gibbon. The winds and the waves are always on the side of the ablest navigators. Basiliscus had brought his forces into waters that Gaiseric knew like the back of his hand, and his Carthaginian advisors knew even better. And what does an able commander do in the era of wooden ships with sails when his enemy has crowded his forces onto a lee shore? That is, a shore lying on the leeward side of a ship, and onto which the ship could be blown in foul weather. Leeward in turn being the opposite side to the one the wind is blowing over. An able commander in this situation sends in fireships. The crowded forces on a lee shore have nowhere to go and not enough time to get there. The fireships, on the other hand, will drive themselves right in. And because Gaiseric was beyond simply able as a naval commander, his warships came in to block off and pick off the Roman remnants trying to escape the inferno. Counts of the Roman losses vary from 100 ships to half their force, almost 500 then. I don't know we'll ever know for sure, but it must have been horrific because the survivors fled back to Sicily where Marcellinus was murdered, possibly on Ricimer's orders. The Eastern Roman economy suffered a colossal blow, both from the loss of the expedition and from the loss of a huge portion of their merchant fleet. The Romans made peace with Gaiseric in 474 in a treaty that would hold until 530. Gaiseric would die in 477 at a grand old age just short of 90, the undisputed master of the Western Mediterranean. The only man with a higher body count of Roman emperors, Ricimer, would die of natural causes 6 weeks after executing the Emperor Anthemius. Emperor Leo in the east died of dysentery in 474 at age 73. Despite the catastrophic debacle at Cape Bon, he is generally regarded as having had a successful reign. Basiliscus' career should have ended with banishment after the battle, but he managed to connive his way onto the throne after Leo's death for a short and disastrous reign, which ended in his execution in 476. Strap in, folks, we've got lots more to cover as we take on every naval battle in history. Please smash those like and subscribe buttons, ring that bell, you don't want to get left behind.